Hey everybody, I am on the line right now with one of the competitors in the ROH Pure Championship tournament. It's kicking off this weekend. You can start watching matches on Ring of Honor TV. Matt Sydal, how are you doing today?
All right, what's going on?
Not too much. So, as I said, you're back appearing on Ring of Honor TV. It's a big restart for them. It's been a while since you've been with Ring of Honor, but we can see your first round matchup coming up. It's against Delirious in the B block. It's going to be premiering next weekend. So how are you feeling, just not only getting back to work with Ring of Honor, but, getting another chance at a title that you might have been familiar with early on in your career with Ring of Honor?
I've been with Ring of Honor basically since I started wrestling. I mean, that was sort of the goal when I got into wrestling, was to get to Ring of Honor. So I was there kind of before my time in Dragon Gate and then WWE. And then even then after, when I was working with New Japan and Ring of Honor, my last match was against Marty for the TV title. So I was on a roll. I was doing really well. So it's good to be back at Ring of Honor because I always get the best matches. I always get to wrestle the best in the world. There's guys like Jay Lethal, Dalton Castle, and I know they're in the A block. They're not in my block, but man, I mean, there's just so many good wrestlers in this tournament. It was a big honor to be called to be a part of it, considering all the things going on with COVID and how challenging it is to put on an event. My hat really goes off to everybody at Ring of Honor for putting on this pure tournament and putting a focus on wrestling and giving a lot of wrestlers a great opportunity. I mean, there was, I don't know if you've covered who's in which block in the tournament, but there's no easy path to the pure championship. But that's how it was when I first started in Ring of Honor. I mean, I used to watch like guys that hardly get the acknowledgement they deserve, like Chad Collier. And then other guys like Nigel McGuinness and Doug Williams go toe-to-toe for the belt. I mean, I saw AJ. I was working with Christopher Daniels and AJ a ton back when the pure title was still in Ring of Honor. So I think I'm a perfect guy to kind of carry on the legacy of the pure title from that past into this present moment.
Yeah, I think there's some parallels in, what Ring of Honor was back then and the bracket now. You have the franchise players in Jay Lethal, Dalton Castle, and then you have some New Japan guys coming over like Rocky Romero and Finley. And I spoke with Kenny King about it. He's also in your block, but if he moves on, you have PJ Black and Tony Deppen would be one of his opponents, and PJ Black has, I would say, had a similar journey in wrestling as you, where he's worked for a lot of major promotions. And, on the other side of that, Tony Deppen is familiar to me. I've followed his work in GCW, but he's unproven in Ring of Honor. So I really feel like there's going to be a lot of different things you can pull from this tournament.
It's a great way for a guy like Tony Deppen to make a name for himself, or a guy like Josh Woods really could make a name for himself, especially when they get a chance to go up against like people who've been at Ring of Honor for a lifetime, like Kenny King or Jay Lethal. I mean, they're going to really have these huge opportunities. And I think what it does is a tournament like this, it levels the playing field. You don't have to you don't have to like go through months of qualifying and trying to get to a number one contendership to get at this title. It's all in one go. So it's like whoever's ready, whoever's the most prepared is going to be the person who can make it to the top. That's why, like, I think a guy like Gresham is for me in my block B, that's kind of the guy I'm most worried about, but also, most excited that hopefully I get to match up with him if he moves on next week, or if he moves on this week. So it's great because there's you have like a guy like Jay Lethal who a lot of people in this tournament might not, like Tony Deppen might not get matched up at him one-on-one at a Ring of Honor show, but through this tournament, he could earn his way to that spot. And by the time he makes it to that match, it'll be a really special moment, because whoever survives through these, into that final round is really going to have to show a lot of resiliency and courage, and really going to have to defy the odds, because there's nobody that has a clear path. I mean, you brought up like Rocky and Dave Finlay. And I mean, just this tournament is just loaded with heavy hitters like Russ Taylor. I think, you know, a lot of people will have their eyes open to him in this tournament. Wheeler Yuta. So I mean, we're busy. Like, this is a competitive tournament. That's exactly what it's supposed to be. You're not really you're not going to be able to predict the outcome of any of these. It's going to be a toss up in every match. And the one thing, you know, is that like everybody's going into this match with honor and respect, like the classic Ring of Honor. We shake hands before, we shake hands after, we just go out there and go hard and try and have a banger. You know, every time we go out in Ring of Honor, your goal is to steal the show. Your goal is to get that spotlight on you and to have the fans talking about you after the match. And so I think whoever comes out of this pure tournament, the champion, is going to really have a lot of momentum behind him.
And I think one thing that the other interesting thing to point out is Jay's the only former champion in the tournament, but you were in the company when the title was active. I think you're the only person that can claim that, because I think Kenny, it didn't exactly line up. So I think it's Jay and you are the only people that were actually competing when the title was around. So when that title was active, I mean, was that a goal of yours? Do you feel like, you know, it's a new challenge now, like you're getting a second shot at something like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I really wasn't when I was in Ring of Honor at that time, I never earned my way up to a challenger for the pure title, because the competition was so tough, and there were just really these ingrained veterans that they were immovable in the ring. And, you know, it was something that I aspired to become. And, you know, it just took me a little bit longer to really believe in myself and my abilities, and to be sure of myself. And now it's funny, because people will tell me and Jay, oh, you guys were so good back then. Oh, you could have been the champion then. And I mean, if you think we were good then, wait till you see how good we are now, because we have not stopped with the same work ethic, with the same mentality that got us to the dance that first time, that's kept us there. Like, we haven't wavered in our determination. I haven't wavered one bit in my focus. And really, there's no better time than now for me to be in this pure tournament, because I've spent so much time and energy focused on my own personal wrestling school, the Sai Dojo in Clearwater, Florida. And so I'm training guys in this style. We train it is very much a pure style. I mean, I have my influences, my original influences that very few other people have, from the Dragon Gate system and from other places. But I really do focus on true pure wrestling. And you know, so I'm out there wrestling young, strong, hungry kids every day, 3 times a week. I'm ready to rumble. So that's why I look forward to getting a guy like Tony Deppen across the ring from me, because those are the kind of challenges that force me to rise to a higher level. You know, a guy like Tony Deppen is a game changer, somebody who's innovating things. And so I'm always on my toes in a match like that. And I had so many times where a guy like AJ Styles or Christopher Daniels gave me a match that I wasn't even ready for, and that the fans loved. That's kind of what I'd like to do with some of the younger guys in this tournament, is really help them find their own personal limits.
15 plus years veteran now, is having like a new goal or a new accolade like this also something that you really like? When they called and said, hey, we want you to come back to Ring of Honor, like, yeah, that's great, but is it, hey, here's this championship you've never won before? Like, is that something that motivates you now, having like a new goal after?
I got into wrestling for the marathon, not for the sprint. No, I didn't win any belts my first year. A lot of people thought, you know, like the place I started at, you think I would have been a star there, but no, I mean, I had to grind it out, and I wasn't a champion there. It wasn't until I got to IWA Mid-South that I got my first ever light heavyweight championship. But before that, I was really focused on like the NWA TNA's X Division, which is now Impact X Division belt, that was carried by a lot of the similar guys that carried the pure title. The belts they're different, but they meant something. They also had like a special meaning. And it wasn't until last year. So I've been wrestling for 20 years, and it wasn't until 2 years ago or 3 years ago that I won that X Division championship. So the next thing on my list would be getting that pure championship. I mean, it really is what would follow next. And the trajectory of my career has definitely thrust me in this place where carrying that pure championship in my bag seems like a highly potential future for me. And really my determination is there so that if I don't win it this time, I would be somebody who would look to remain in the pure division and keep pushing for pure style matches against pure opponents until I can become a number one contender and get back at that belt, because it really does mean a lot to me. It's a gorgeous belt. I always was envious. Nigel McGuinness is a close friend of mine, and I was always so envious of his title reigns with it, like in a very positive way. And really, I just was always blown away by how physical his style was, and now I'm looking to impose that same kind of physicality on other people.
I wanted to point out, you mentioned the X Division title win. That was 2018, and that was really your last long-term home, if you want to look at it like that. You've been all over the place since then. This year you wrestled at the Independent Wrestling Expo in Texas. You did Qatar Pro Wrestling this year, Evolve last year. So, when you're looking for bookings or, fielding offers, I mean, how do you, kind of figure out what works for you these days? Like, are you looking to stay in Ring of Honor past the tournament? How long is the marathon going to go, so to speak?
Yeah, I'm the same guy I've always been. I've always been an independent wrestler at heart. I mean, you say like, I haven't had a home, but a company's not a home. A house is a home. A family's a home, and I have that. So from my home is where I operate my entire wrestling world from. And I just sort of have my own thing. I run my wrestling school. I do independent wrestling events all over the world. Just recently I did All Elite Wrestling All Out pay-per-view. So just the independent spirit is really alive right now. I think a lot of people depend on or rely on an organization to fulfill them and to bring them happiness and to bring them the promotion and the love and the adoration that they need. And, I just try and keep it all self-sustaining. I try and have my own fan group and my own people that support me and care for me. And I operate the same way I did when I was an indie wrestler still in college. I make my wrestling gear at home. I watch wrestling at home and think of ideas. I go to a wrestling school and work on stuff, and then I show up on the weekends and go crazy and try and be the crest of the wave of the business. And that's really where I'm at right now. I feel really good. I feel really healthy. As far as that marathon's concerned, I have run into a lot of issues since leaving him. When I was at Impact, that X Division champion, my neck wasn't able to handle the workload. And after losing the belt to Brian Cage in a match, I just realized my neck just can't handle this anymore. And so basically I took all of 2019 off, most of it. I did some Rev Pro. I love wrestling for Rev Pro in England. It's one of my favorite places to wrestle. If I had a home promotion, I wish it could be Rev Pro. So it's just important for me to be healthy and just to take care of my body, which, fans will appreciate the sacrifice and stuff we make. But, I was just working a little more hurt than I should. And so during this pandemic, I've been able to get healed and healthy. And, I'm able to go toe to toe with you if you're 22 or 42 or 52 or 32 or 102. It doesn't matter to me, man. Everybody's human, and I see guys break in the ring all the time, and really in wrestling, that's the moment we're looking for, is when the guy's body signals to you that he's quitting. Then it's like, all right, it's time to wrap this up and finish him off. I mean, you get cues, like you get these nonverbal cues from your opponent where he's just weakened, and that's the time where I thrive, because I sort of, to be in wrestling this long, you have to enjoy the pain. You have to enjoy getting hit. You have to enjoy hitting people. That's me at my core.
I know you mentioned, your all out appearance. Just, I thought it was interesting because you taped Ring of Honor in Baltimore. They had all the, the COVID precautions, and then AEW is doing their own testing. So, how did that happen? And can you kind of explain the schedule for how you actually got those two different appearances to line up where it it made sense.
Yes, well, it was very serendipitous that the events aligned so nicely. But in fact, between the two events, between the filming of Ring of Honor and AEW, I also went and did a show in Dallas. And at every show I was at, I was tested for coronavirus. Ring of Honor had the nasal swab test, which was super intense. We did one before we could get before we traveled, then upon arrival and upon departure. Then I did blood tests with AEW and in Dallas. And that just made sure that nobody had coronavirus. I'm a big mask wearer. I have no problem wearing a mask. I just got used to it. My theory is we already live in the future, and we kind of are a space-based society since we send our data to since I'm communicating to you through satellite, we're using space. So it's no surprise to me that we need to be walking around in biohazard suits. I mean, these are direct consequences of industry run amok, of lack of government regulations protecting citizens. I mean, the water we drink is getting poisoned, the air we breathe is getting poisoned, and viruses are mutating. Wrestling's a beautiful thing, but it inspires me to all work together, because one thing I've learned through wrestling throughout the world is that we're all the same. We all share common ancestry and history. And for us to handle all these problems, we all have to work together. And that's why it's great seeing everybody in the wrestling industry working together to keep their wrestlers safe. So if a guy does go from Ring of Honor to AEW and back the other way around, that he's there. No locker room is kind of a dangerous hotbed for the virus, and the other one's not. It's everybody's takes precautions because they respect their talent and really care about them. And I felt very well looked after at both places. AEW has a strict wristband policy, very strict, and which is the wristband to prove that you tested positive. And then Ring of Honor just had a list, and you knew everybody there had been tested. I think they tested over 100 people. So I mean, this is the modern world we live in. We just have to adapt and move forward. I'm just so happy that this is something we can still wrestle throughout. And I don't plan on letting the pandemic stop me from my training, from my work, and from still getting a chance to entertain everybody.
I think there's two ways you can put it, and I respect the way you did answer, because I didn't mean to sound like, okay, a home or but I think people look forward to maybe seeing you consistently in one place or another. I think that's where it comes from. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of excitement in where's he going to show up next, because I don't know how many people know this, but the tournament for Ring of Honor is taped. There was a set of TV tapings in Baltimore that took place before your all-out appearance, which we saw last week. You were the Joker in the Casino Battle Royale. So, when you came out, it was like, oh man, this is really cool. And then the question was, well, how long are we going to see him here? How long are we going to see him in Ring of Honor? So I think there's that, the mystery, I guess, that is missing from pro wrestling sometimes, the jumping ship sort of thing that we kind of experienced in the Monday Night War era. So, I think that's pretty cool, waiting to see what happens next. And especially with it, it's not just TV promotions anymore. Everybody's on the internet. So I think there's more access where you can create more moments like that.
Well, you're right. It really does make me happy when I can have a place to be on TV consistently for the fans, because I mean, as much as I wrestle for myself, I really do. When the match is over, it's what I'm giving to the people. It's all I have to give. I give everything in the ring, and once it's done, it's for everybody. So I'm really glad. Hopefully, people seeing me at All Out made them more excited and want to see me in the ring more, in which you're going to get that chance when I take on my longest rival of all time, who I hadn't wrestled in maybe 5 years, but a guy named Delirious, who I trained together, who I got all my first breaks with, who I would have never had a career without. And so this is a matchup that you cannot see anywhere other than Ring of Honor. So, I have to go to Ring of Honor to get these matches. So to get a chance to wrestle Dalton Castle or Jay Lethal, I have to go to Ring of Honor. If I want to wrestle Dave Finlay or Rocky Romero, which I do, those matches have to happen in Ring of Honor. And so that's what's so cool about what I get is I get to kind of hunt down these matches that I want without having to.
Right now, you don't have to worry about international travel, especially. Literally only could happen in Ring of Honor right now.
Ring of Honor is so good about their talent and fostering their talent and growing their talent that they have a roster that, as you know, every wrestler is a wrestling fan, and we just want to have good matches. I know, the marathon is, I don't say I see the finish line, but I know it's not too far away. So I don't have a million matches left in me. So every single one counts. Everyone matters. A moment like the Pure Tournament, which is going to go down in history, in Ring of Honor history, in wrestling history, to be a part of that is just, it's a big honor. And people throw around the honor word a lot. But when I first started in wrestling, and when I was training in 1999, it was only about respect. That was all there was to get. There was no money in it. When I first got to Ring of Honor, nobody was there because they were paying people. We were there to earn respect, and that mentality is very much alive in the current Ring of Honor. Guys aren't there because they want to be stars or because they want to be on TV. They want to earn people's respects with their wrestling ability. And that's what this Pure Tournament is going to showcase. And clearly, I will be showcasing the most because I've been working at this longer, harder than everybody. And, I've been working on reinventing myself so that every time you see me in the ring, you see something unexpected, you see something original, you see my creativity at large.
Everybody's fighting for respect now too, because you can't ignore some of the stuff Ring of Honor went through last year with, attendance or the different headlines with it. It just, it's a new era for the company itself. And I think the Pure Championship tournament is showing that. And I'm really excited to see not only what we can expect from the in-ring perspective, but really how they can bounce back, because I feel like a lot of people say it all the time, like wrestling goes in cycles, and I really feel like this is Ring of Honor's chance to kind of cycle back around.
Yeah, I'm just proud to be a part of it. It's like I said, Ring of Honor really has been a very constant throughout my career, and that everything changes, but a lot of the Ring of Honor fans are very loyal and have been there through everything from day one. There's down day one, like the Briscoe Bros, and you know what I mean. I really do feel that deep down inside that Ring of Honor is just, it's a very special place for me, and it's a place that inspired me to, and it's a place that made me feel like I could fit into this business when I was really young and kind of losing hope when WCW was sold and there was nowhere for any, non-heavyweight wrestlers to compete. And then basically Ring of Honor and then TNA started up, and we all brought this resurgence of the business that's there now. The reason people watch the, WWE programming right now is because of Ring of Honor, not necessarily because of WWE. I mean, a lot of the talent that Ring of Honor has had come through is just uncanny, and it's unmatched. And everybody who's anybody wrestles, in Ring of Honor, because we all want to earn that respect of the wrestling community. That's not easy to win over, the kind of the pickier fans, or the ones that are harder to impress, the ones who have kind of seen everything. I mean, we had Kent in, 2006 and 2005, I think, so it's, when you've seen some of the best wrestling from all over the world, like what I think is really great that Ring of Honor has, it's not even showcased in this tournament, is all the international talent that's available, from guys like Haskins in England, but to all the luchadors that they bring in. It's really, again, Ring of Honor gets out ahead of the curve. They're ahead of the game, and they're really the leaders in the industry. And so, I don't really read the internet, so I don't know what people were saying about them last year, but it never in my mind did they waver from anything other than being like the leaders, especially with what's going on in the ring in wrestling.
Yeah. I mean, every company goes through some negative press, but I think the one thing to highlight about what you said is there's no denying that Ring of Honor has had an influence on the current WWE roster. Like, you look at NXT or Raw or SmackDown, and if you're familiar with the wrestling business, like, you'll see Adam Cole's been the biggest star arguably on the WWE roster for the past year or so, and he's Ring of Honor. So, you know,
and Ring of Honor really just, it represents wrestling for wrestlers, and you know, the guys that make a difference in this business wrestle for wrestling. You know, we really are sportsmen. We really believe in our calling to the game. And yeah, I mean, I really just recommend everybody stay tuned to this pure tournament, because if you're looking for action, if you're looking for guys going hard, you're going to get it nonstop all week. There's no fans. There was no distractions. It was just go up and go, you know, one-on-one across the ring. No, there's nobody in the back, nobody around the ring. It's just, it's one-on-one, and, you know, the winner moves on in the tournament. So really hope everybody stays tuned. Cheers for me. Got a Pro Wrestling Tees site, prowrestlingtees.com/Matt Sydal, Sydal. I'd love it if people could, you know, after you check out my matches in the tournament, support me through grabbing some T-shirts. I've got a website, sydojo.com. It's kind of under construction, sydojo.com, where I give wrestling advice and also sell 8x10s and all that other stuff.
Matt Sydal, we'll see your match next weekend, starting the weekend of September 19th. He opens the B block against Delirious, and you can check him out when he's not on Ring of Honor TV. All of Sydojo, his Pro Wrestling Tees store. Thank you very much for your time.
All right. Yeah, everybody tune in, turn on. Peace, love, and pro wrestling.